Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
It's about to get real.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. That's because I make it that way. When I get up in the morning, I decide it's going to be a groovy day. Guess what? The rest of my day is pretty groovy, and that's because I start out that way. It's also another groovy day because it's Life Mastery Radio Day. Yay! I get to hang out with my good friend Jackie Bailey, and Jackie and I bring on some pretty amazing guests with thoughts and ideas, great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And thank you for joining us today. As always, Jackie's here. Hi, Jackie.
Hello. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. And you know what? Feeling groovy. Da, 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 da.
Of course.
How are things at Speak, Feed, Lead? You are such a busy woman. It's hard to, I can't get on Facebook enough to track what it is that you're up to.
It seems like a lot. It's like I find myself needing a little tiny nap after every meal because there's just so much energy I'm burning, right?
A little teeny tiny one.
Little tiny, like 10-minute naps. Anyway, it does wonders. And, as I'm moving closer, inching ever closer to the age of 60, it's like, you know what? I deserve that. So anyway, yeah, you know what? I don't know if you know this, Todd, but since we're both in the Seattle, Washington area, do you know there's a TEDx event coming to
You're going to tell me
Woodinville?
about it. I know
That's
that.
right, in October. And so I'm getting a lot of the local youth and adult clients excited and ready to give their first TEDx speech locally. I mean, it's nice to not have to travel anywhere to do something that big, right?
Right.
So
And this is full-blown TEDx.
it is. I've actually talked personally with the organizer of it, told her that I would be happy to volunteer any way I can. I know she was looking for an
Now,
assistant.
wait a second. You don't want to speak at it?
Not if I'm helping out, because I could speak at a TEDx anywhere, but if it's here in the local area, I think I'd rather help out because it's just easier,
Well,
right?
you are speaking at one coming up.
That's
San
in
Diego.
San Diego. Yeah, San Diego, July 23rd will be my TEDx talk at TEDx Taft Avenue. It's actually in El Cajon, California, which is going to be a little warm in July, but that's all right. We'll probably be inside most of the time anyway. But that is
You'll
inching
get
ever
your
closer.
heat for the summer.
Pardon me?
You'll get your heat for the summer. And if you go to the beach, you'll get the sand. Those are two things Jackie requires every summer is warmth
Definitely.
and sand.
Definitely. And you know what? I know so many people in the San Diego area. It'll be fun to maybe get together and see. And I'm actually lining up some possible other speaking opportunities while there. So we'll see how it goes. Could be a nice week in San Diego area.
And so you're getting some of your kids to sign up? Is that what you're doing?
I am. We're working on 3 young people right now that are getting close to having their application materials all ready, so we can basically copy and paste into the speaker application that's required. Doesn't mean they'll be accepted. A lot of these TEDx events, they have particular themes or particular types of speakers they're looking for. So it's a roll of the dice, but when you're ready, you're never at a loss for opportunities because there are TEDx events popping up everywhere. But it
That's
is a
cool.
very particular kind of message you have to have ready.
Right. Next, that's coming up in October.
It is. But the application for speakers comes to a close June 20th.
Wow. That's
So
just
if you want to apply, you got to be quick. Gotta be quick about it.
You can find out more at Jackie Bailey Speaks. No, Jackie Bailey 360.
JackieBailey360.com. Yep. Yeah.
Or one of the many other URLs.
They're all there. If you go to JackieBailey360.com, you'll find all the other websites.
And you can find out the programs for kids. It's just amazing to empower a youngster or a young adult with the power to speak their voice and their ability to find that message and that voice, and then just let her rip, because they do let her rip. They let you know exactly what they're thinking, how they're thinking, and what they think about. And there's no reservation. But it's really cool to see kids do that. I mean, you watch these kids and these are future leaders that are being, I don't want to say manufactured, but they're just being led down a path basically for their own discovery, and it's pretty cool.
Well, they have such innate leadership abilities anyway. I really see the kids coming to the planet now are rather empathic, and they have this idea like, I'm going to change the world. I'm making this place better, and they come with that attitude, and hopefully we can keep inspiring that attitude in them and help them to find ways to direct their desires toward something good. Unfortunately, though, what happens to a lot of kids is that stuff is normalized out of them, and they're told, nope, you got to focus on academics, or you got to go into this field or whatnot, and then they lose that fire that they're born with. So I'm hoping, and I can see evidence of the fact that our programs are helping youth to stay focused on what's passion for them and what they want to do with that, and give them an opportunity to say it on the stage. It's really magical.
You're not the first person that's recognized that. There's a thing called, or they've been identified it as indigo children, to tell you the truth. And there's been a lot written and a lot said about it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
More news at 11 on that. I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.com. Any links that we talk about, we'll put there. Jackie, later on in the week, we'll write a blog post about the show and post it there. And of course, this show will get loaded up into YouTube. I think there's well over 300 shows on a plethora of topics on our YouTube channel to surf around. So you can grab some keys, grab some life mastery keys. They're all right there.
Yep, absolutely. Lots of good information.
Are we ready, set, go? I think Anna is our guest today, and Jackie is the person that bird dogged her. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and we appreciate that she's here. We actually had another guest scheduled who took a fall and was unable to be here today. She couldn't actually sit up long enough for the interview, which is really sad. We're best wishes out to her. But we contacted Anna, who couldn't make it the week before. We're like, hey, how would you like to step in? And so we're glad that she's here. And this is Anna Y.C. Chen. She's a business consultant, a coach, a musician, and a spiritual teacher. As the business Dharma coach, this is what she's known, Anna helps solopreneurs allocate money, time, and energy in marketing and sales. In 2022, she coached over 200 people online. 200 people on niche, target audience, and business strategy. In addition, she shares her leadership, team building, and career development knowledge through her work in progress. The Business Tarot, which is a book coming out soon, the 22 archetypes and their roles in business. So we're going to be talking about all of those things, her dreams, her musical talents, her tarot, her book, her program. So welcome to Anna Chen, and you can find her at fromdreamtobusiness.com. So welcome, Anna.
Yay, thank you, Jackie, for the wonderful introduction. Hi, Todd, it's great to see you.
It's great to be seen, of course.
Where in the world are you, Anna? Where are you joining us from?
Yep, I'm in Vancouver, BC, so I'm just north of the border. Yeah,
just north of us. Perfect location for you to be a TEDx speaker at the event here in this area.
Yes.
Come on down.
That's right.
I love Seattle. I actually have like places that I was like, okay, if I go again, this is where I'm gonna eat. Like,
oh,
yeah. I did it last time, and I'm like ready to go back.
Lots of opportunities for foodies in this area, and your area as well. I mean, Vancouver's known for superior restaurants, so yeah.
Jackie and I have been up there a couple times on a couple different excursions, so it's a pretty cool place.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, so Anna, you've got all these really neat things cooking. Excuse me. But there was a time you didn't think you were worth it. So maybe give us some of that backstory on, because you've really come a long way, haven't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was just listening to how Jackie was talking about how kids were lost, and I was part of that lost kid for a long while, because I started out realizing that that I can sense things differently, and I'm empathic, and I can just pick up other people's emotion or read the room really early on as a kid. And I didn't know what to do with it. And my parents, I call them the muggles. And they have absolutely no idea how to do with me, and nor my classmate, my teacher, because during those times in the early 90s, there were cults, there were scammers all throughout the globe, and it was quite a taboo topic to talk about spirituality. So that sort of
It was here, we'll coin the phrase, it was woo-woo.
It was woo-woo.
absolutely. And so I pretend to be a good kid, and well, I'm still a good kid, but I pretend I'm being normal by
Right.
myself, and thought, oh, you know what, it'll be fine. If I play along, it will be fine. No, it wasn't fine, because by the time I got into university, being Asian, it's like, go do business. And I was like, okay, I didn't know what to do. And by the time I got in there, I was burning out. I was feeling withdrawal from classes, like from my people. I was suffering functional depression at that time. And then I was the group of people, I would never make them friends again. If I ever have a choice, I would not at the first place,
Is that
and then
so? Let's just talk about that for a minute, because you think that was because you just didn't have direction and you were listening to other people. Is that what brought you to that space?
It was partially because when you're in a new environment, so I went from West Coast to East Coast for university. So the first thing you feel like, oh, I have to hang out with people that shares the same identity, exterior identity, not internally, exterior identity. For example, for me, it might be an Asian group. For some people, it might be a religious group, without really knowing who those people are. If you put those people back into a great big pot, you might not hang out with them. But because you're in a new environment, you feel like you have to hang on to some identity.
You're trying to find some commonality, right, with people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then trying to force yourself to agree with what they agree with.
Right? Exactly. And that's all where the fun begins.
Yeah. Were you bullied a little bit in some ways, Anna?
Yeah, so growing up, that was definitely part of the I think it was because I think it was a lot of, how do you say it in English? It was like a lot of cold shoulders. People would talk behind my back, never, because I'm quite a confrontational person. So if they do it in front of me, I would not afraid to like speak out loud. So they would do it behind my back. So there's a lot of more about the isolation, and also talk behind my back. Never really anything physical.
Gossip is what you call that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More like manipulation through the mental state, kind of that thing.
Right. Well, I can see that though, if you're an empathic child, and so you've got this ability to read other people's energy. So if they're putting off negative vibes, it's hard to be around those kind of people, right? You kind of just feel uncomfortable. You're drawn to them, like you say, for the exterior reasons, and like, I got to find something in common with these people because I don't have anybody else. But you get this bad vibe going on, and you're not sure if it's you or them or what's going on, and then they start feeling kind of uncomfortable around you because you're putting off weird vibes. So so we try to figure it all out, right?
Yeah. And then to make it even spicier, I'm a truth teller, right? So then it's kind of like, no, people love truth. Especially during those vulnerable, like teenager, early university years. That just like adds another mixer into
Yeah.
the show. Yeah.
So when a boy came up to ask you out, you're like, no, you're not my kind. You're not my type.
No, okay, so that's funny how you say it, because it usually is not that case. They will not come up because they were afraid that I would give a straight answer. So they will try to do other things, and I'm completely oblivious. I would think that, oh, they're just being nice. They're just friends, they're being nice, and I'm just completely oblivious to that. So they get the friend card all the time.
So you were intimidating in some ways then.
Yeah.
So you were not only seeking for groups to belong to, but you were also sort of putting this shield around yourself at the same time.
And I don't know if that's intentionally that I'm
Yeah.
doing that. As I go along, like dive into more into spirituality, into like human design, gene code, and astrology. Apparently that's just a thing. Like I don't have to do a lot, that people
Yeah.
just thought that, oh, she's a little bit hard to approach. But then once they approach me, and I have friends who said to me, Anna, I thought you were quiet. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Where'd you get that idea?
An introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
then you heard someone say something, I think, about maybe they asked you a question. What would you die for? What would you be willing to die for? Was it something like that?
That was a
Maybe
Chen.
I'm telling the story wrong.
yeah, no, it's okay, it's all good. So during that low point, the low point really went to dive, actually, because I ended up losing my grandfather and my uncle in a short 4-month period. And then within another 2-3 months, I realized that my dad also got a early diagnosis of early stage cancer. And he's doing fine right now. But during those period of time of loss, grief, and then I was already doubting my identity. Why am I here? Why am I doing here? Why am I hanging out with all these people? It really crushed me. And I got kicked out from my program. I was still in school. I got kicked out of my program, and I have to figure a way out, right? And because then I was like, I can't just, I'm in my 3rd year. So it's rare
And this
to
was
get
business school? This was a
Yeah.
business school? Okay.
This is business school. It was rare to get kicked out of the 3rd year, because usually the hardest part is the 2nd year transition into the 3rd. And I was just having such a hard time even going to classes, because there was this notion of during that time that I feel I don't belong there. Subconsciously, that's what I felt, like I don't belong there, but I have to go. And so soul searching wise, I came across a book, and it says, if you want to be successful, you have to have the courage to jump off a stage. This is the stage of Kiyomizu Temple in Japan, in Kyoto. And I thought at the time, I was like, it's just a stage. I saw that rock star jump off stage all the time. It should be fine. Then I found out that it was the stage built about 4 to 5 stories high alongside a cliff. So when you jump out, you're literally jumping out of a building.
Wow.
And so I thought, okay, so what does that actually mean? It means that you have to have that courage to risk everything for that one thing. And that's the thing that's going to make you successful. Right. And then so that's get me thinking, it's like, oh, what is that one thing? What is that one thing if I become 70s, 80s, 90s in my dying bed that I would regret of not doing, not giving it a try? And that one thing, what is that one thing? And I realized I want to be on stage. I've always been in choir. I want to be on stage. But at that time, I didn't know what am I going to be on stage for? I can do singing, I can do speaking. At that point, I even said to my friends, if I have to be a stagehand or like make backstage scenes, I don't care. I'm going to do it. I will do it. Yeah. Because I want to be there. And so I start looking at all the possibilities of what is my closest path that will get me to some sort of a stage exposure. And I know that in universities, if you are alumni, you get first dib back into school. So I said, okay, my chance is to somehow make my way back into business, graduate, and apply for music. And this is a time where I never took any singing lessons. I've only had my background in singing in church, and that was it. So my friend told me, like, you're crazy. Like, this is not pop. You can't just show up and sing at the university, because then our university teaches classical music. And I never took any theory. I never took any history, music history. So she's like, okay, let me bring you down to earth just a little bit, and then let me find you a teacher. So I study with a professor bi-weekly for a year, and then go back, finish business, when audition, and I got in.
Wow, that's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can I walk back just for just a second, the stage idea? Because it's an interesting thing that it was just a general stage. There wasn't, as you say, a specific reason for being on a stage. So where do you think that desire came from? Is it a metaphor for something or symbolizing something?
I think, so this is the part where early on, I know I want to help people. And then I've said it, I've outspokenly tell friends, and like, I want to help people. And then one of my mentor today, he was my mentor back then, he's a mentor today. He said to me, Anna, accountants help people. Like, you don't have to be a doctor to help people. Accountant help people, librarians help people. Helping people is a very general idea.
Yeah.
You have to figure out the specifics. And then, so I think at that time, when I think about stage, that somehow clicked, because I want to share a message. I want to, and this is the part where when I later on did conducting, I always say to my group before they go on to perform, I said, go make them cry. Because there's something about the music when we bring people through a emotion and getting in touch with who they are, their identity. I think that's the part where I was really looking for.
Yeah, cool. That's good.
I can feel what you're saying, because I am pretty much the same way. You know, speaking from a stage is a great boost, but it's that empathetic feeling of connecting with those people, right? And getting that vibration almost ricocheted back at you. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So Anna, are you happy then with what you're doing now? Has it all come full circle for you?
Yep. And so I've realized that, I went into music and I finished conducting, and then I came back to business, and then now I'm coming back to spirituality. So everything is like a full circle. I'm still able to use all the skills that I've learned in all those journey, and now putting it back into one. And part of my secret mission is to break down the barrier between spirituality and business. If I can break it down, that would be, I think I did my job. When I go to see God, I'll be like, check mark, I've done that. And so, yeah, definitely.
And so that's what you're working on right now. That's your big jump.
Yes.
Off the building. So when you went into music, were you singing? Were you playing an instrument? Were you performing in plays, or what were you doing on that stage in music?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into the music as a classical singer. Okay. And then during those times, I did try to go out as a solo singer. However, because I have to pick a major. So then at that time I was like, okay, I can do performance, I can do composition, I can do conducting, music education at that time. What do I do? And then my strength comes in music education, because then conducting comes very naturally for me. And then so I took that path as a conductor, and now I'm conducting my local church children's chorus. Nice. And so it's really fun.
Do you find that music then feeds your empathic soul as well? Is there a nice connection between the spirituality and the music?
And this is the fun part. I can see now why a lot of empathic people are musicians. They have that musician background. It's because when you're empathic, you read. Like, music, it's an energy that you send out and you read. So when I'm conducting, like I've shadow conduct orchestra before. I pick up their energy without them telling me stuff. I can read them. So if they send me a panic look, like I immediately will get it and I know what they need, right? And so it's really beneficial that way as a conductor. It's like while we're in the music, it's like, oh, something's going on, and then so I can just attend to it. In education, it's very beneficial for sure, because sometimes kids they don't want to come up to you and they don't have that courage, or they don't have that opportunity to be nurtured to say exactly what they need. Sometimes they don't even know what they need. So being empathic has that strength to just say, read what other people need. It's a blessing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think like you know, just getting a good handle early on what your purpose is. Why are you here? What is it that I'm passionate about, right? And I heard in your story, you started to find those passions after you'd already stepped into something, but then you started to develop it and then bring those together.
Yeah. And this is the part where a lot of my audience ended up asking me, is like, what if I don't have a purpose?
Yeah.
What if
is that crazy?
Right. And I said to them, pick one. Because then I think, because sometimes it went so fast for the people who have a purpose, we don't realize there's actually a step process for us, even for us as well. It's a lot of trial and error. Oh, I tried this. I don't like this. I don't think this quite fit for me. But then it's because we try so fast. It feels like we just all of a sudden in one day, ta-ta, here's our purpose.
Or we didn't get results fast enough, right? We didn't put in, I forget the name of the book, the 10,000 hours that are required. Not that it's 10,000 hours, but that's just a metaphor.
Yeah. And then definitely, I feel like for some of the audience that I came across that were worried about, what if I don't have that purpose, like one big thing, am I still a good person? Am I still going to be successful? And the answer is yes. It's because it's a weeding out process that you go through.
Yeah. And did you find then that music provided that common ground you were looking for with other people in the industry, and that didn't matter what they look like on the outside, but you were finding that spiritual and musical connection?
Yes, part about the music journey is finding that commonality. And also at the same time, as a musician, you learn how to stand for your opinion. I think that was the greatest gift for me, is that knowing that, yes, we play a common song, but then you need to have your own voice. When you're out there performing, when you stand up for, this is why I want to interpret the song this way. This is meaningful to me this way. You have to be able to negotiate those, how to interpret a song. If you're doing have an accompanist, if you are doing an orchestra, you're a conductor, you have to convince all the orchestra and say, hey, here we are, we're going to take a slower speed here. I don't care. This is what I want, right? You have to be able to, and I think as a female conductor, is a very humbling experience to be able to be in that position to say, nope, listen to me. I don't care. This is how we're going to do it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. So music and business, how did you get into the spirituality part of it?
So I started out in spirituality. I never stopped trying to figure out why am I the person who have this power, this empathic power, and then later on I went into divination, and then reading all sorts of different religion, the story, the folklore, to trying to make sense of the world on the other side.
Yeah.
And I have tons of different like spirituality stories to tell, and it was a very interesting way of looking at the world through a different lens, especially being it really fostered that sense of gratitude, appreciation, feeling humble, because this is like Mother Nature has been here for how so long, and then yet we are treating it as a kid all the time.
Well, was there a particular religion you were exposed to as a child, or was it just your hunger for answers?
It was really just the hunger for answer, because it was so funny, because in Taiwan, we have the Taoism, we have the local religion or local, deity, and then we have Buddhism, we have Islamic, we have Christianity. So in that little piece of the land, we have all sorts of
They're all
different,
there.
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's all like a mixed bag of things. So I grew up like listening to all these like different supernatural experiences, all these religion, the stories, and then trying to figure out, okay, as a kid, you're like, okay, they say their God is the only God. Okay, how about this person? But then they say they have to encounter with this deity. And then what am I supposed to do in between? Right. And then you have your ancestor worshiping. So it's a lot of the trying to figure my path and trying to figure out who I am, what I'm connected to. And I think that was this where spirituality came in, is it really helped me find a way to say, okay, you don't have to believe in everything. However, if it makes sense to you, hold on to it as long as you need it. If you don't need it anymore, you can put some information down, whatever the bits that you don't need it, put it down, pick something up, right? It's like anything in the world, really, that in life, if you don't like your car, pick another car. Like, it's fine.
I
Now
can
you mentioned
remember
your parents were kind of traditional. Did they accept that way of thinking from you?
For the longest time, they thought I was just a kid playing with imaginary friends. Yeah, and
Yeah.
later on, they, especially this past 4 or 5 years, they start realizing like, there's a little bit more than that, because now they have friends, and then the friends would like come to me for ideas, for
Mhm.
opinions, advice, and then so they start like realizing that, like she has this whole other bits where they don't really understand, and they make peace with it.
Yeah.
However, I think there's the typical parenting technique. It's like, I don't know what she's doing, but it's okay.
That's funny. Did you ever live in Taiwan, or were you
Yeah,
born in Canada? Okay.
I was born in Taiwan. I grew up there till grade 7, and then so it's a good 13 years there, and I still go back visit. I still have family there, and I retain, because I read a lot as an introverted kid. And
Yeah.
then also trying to figure myself out. I read like crazy. So
I can remember as a kid trying to reconcile that we were drilling for oil where hell was, and we were shooting rockets into where heaven was. And I remember as a little kid just thinking, how do I reconcile this? How does this work? So I know exactly what you were thinking, or
Mm.
what I don't want to say confused you, but what caused you to question more.
I remember my first kind of like testing of the universe is kind of like, how like, you're wishing for Santa, and then you kind of want to test that, but then logically, like, I don't know, I don't think this is gonna work, because I'm also in Taiwan, right? I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know, I really don't, I don't know how this is gonna work. Let me test this out. And it was like, yep, it is not a real thing. Okay, cool. Let's move on. But there was definitely moments of that when I grew up. And because Taiwan is also very exposed to Western culture, the Japanese culture and Chinese culture, everything mixed together. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah. All right. So now you have these amazing variable skills and talents and knowledge, and you call yourself the business Dharma coach. Why did you choose that name? What does that mean or represent?
Yeah. For me, I think people are the happiest when they get to be themselves, and when they get to be themselves in a business setting, right? So
Mm.
it means that doing a business that represent you, and that's the part what I want to help people build, is that especially when people are trying to decide all these moving pieces as a beginner entrepreneur, it's like, which social media platform do I choose? I was like, well, which social media platform do you use?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then help people figure themselves out so that they can apply all that knowledge in a business sense. Because when I talk to people, I said marketing is like dating. They're literally the same thing. And then getting people to say yes at home is your sales technique, right? And your leadership skills comes from parenting skills. They all goes hand in hand. So how you do within in a family settings, you need to find that out, or being able to articulate that, understand your strength so that you can apply it all the way to business. And then so from there, then you understand, should I work alone? Should I have a team of 5 or team of 10 or 20? Or should I be doing a leadership position even though I'm a founder? Or should I be a founder, but I do something else? There's a lot of choices that people have to figure out during those, when they first start their business. And I want to help them narrow that seeding developmental stage as fast as they could, so that they can just start growing their startup phase.
Yeah.
So your program is designed to nurture that, then,
Yes.
is what I'm hearing you say, and
Yeah.
not so much tell them where to go,
Yeah.
but help guide them
Yeah.
where their heart leads them.
Exactly. And it really works well when I come from business, because then I can safely tell them, it's like, based on who you are, you don't need this service right now. Save some money. You don't need that service right now. This is for your budget that you have, what kind of services that you should be getting. And so be able to sort of nurture them. So it is a nurturing program instead of a more like a, this is what you do this, you shall get there program.
Yeah.
And so that takes us, you're developing a book, and you told us that book identifies archetypes. So take us down that path a little bit. That seems to me that is the foundation of your philosophy of nurturing people into their purpose and their direction that they should be going.
Yeah. So with the archetype, so there's 22 archetypes that I'm including in the book, and we all have one primary archetype and then 2 secondary ones. So when I first came across like, oh, I'm going to really develop this archetype idea, is because I could never understand how the Myers-Briggs works. I was like, okay, great. I have 4 codes, and
It is kind of confusing, I think.
and then when I was like, I can kind of remember, but when I tell it to other people, it doesn't mean anything to them. And it doesn't build that connections that I want, when I talk to people, unless you came across the same type, then you're like, right?
I was the same way with that and Enneagrams, right? I mean, Enneagrams, they pretty much peg me. But I always was curious, how is it they know that, I mean, how does this work? Because I think in Enneagrams, you also have one main and some subs.
Yeah. And then so then I kind of want a more archetype where if I say what my archetype is, you kind of have an idea, right? That's what I'm looking for. And I was like, okay, I've worked with the tarot cards for many years. I love the archetype and what they represent. So let me see if I can work that into a business setting. So my archetype is the high priestess. Wow. So if I tell people I'm a high priestess, people kind of like, okay, I kind of have an idea.
Gives a little street cred, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then my secondary ones is, one of them is the magicians, and the other one is the empress. So immediately people are like, okay, I can kind of not really clear, but at least they can kind of get a sense of what that feels like. Now, having to say that the 22 archetypes, they're breakdown into the 5 groups, which is the 5 key operational areas in the business. So you have sales, marketing, coordination, HR, which is the advisory, and then your leadership. So all the 22 archetypes are spread among the 5 groups. There are some that has a double role. And then essentially no profile is a bad profile, because they're just very good at specific things. For example, if someone get a devil profile and people are like, ooh, the devil profile. No. These are the people who are very good at steering a ship that's about to break apart. These are the people who can bring those together because they have that charisma. At the same time, they have that command. And also they know that it's just business. We have to get this thing going. Right. And then so it's that control, is that drive, and then the want, and then the charismatic traits that bring people together. So it really depends on what kind of personality you use when. Then you kind of bring those archetype traits forward. And so with the 22 archetypes, I actually paired up one female representation and one male representation for each archetype. And then so people can kind of like, okay, now if I say the magician type is you get the Steve Jobs or Coco Chanel. They're the ultimate representation of that magician type. And so there's a lot of the creativities, there's a lot of the I am me and I command my elements around me to bring forward of what I want. They're great salesperson. And so such stuff like that is what the 22 archetype is based on. Yeah.
And so you go into businesses and teach them this with teams. Is that what you would do?
Yeah. So then basically, once people identify the archetype, you will immediately know what is your strength and what's your weaknesses. So for me, my strengths are in advisory. My strengths is in sales. My strengths is in leadership, but I don't have a good marketing profile. So I get to choose. I have to go, okay, here are 6 different marketing profiles. Which one do I feel more aligned with? And then I have to try. I have to like wear the different hats and then see how comfortable I am. Does this resonate? And even more epic is that now, because we have ChatGPT, I even write my marketing copies and I entered it in. I said, okay, now I have to write a call to action. But my writing style is more academic. What do I do? I said, ChatGPT, can you rewrite my draft using the tone of Steve Jobs? And it will spit out a thing. And then you have to play around with the wording a little bit because like some of the profile, they're like early, like 20th century. And then you're kind of like, people don't talk like that these days, but you can ask them to write it in the tone of someone using modern day English. So then once you know your strengths and weaknesses through the profiling system, if you have to write a marketing copy, you can immediately apply that using ChatGPT. So I totally love it. And that's something that I hope to help people through the program or even through the book, is to first step, know who you are, know what your strength is, and don't struggle with your weakness. It's fine. We now have the technologies and tools that can make up for those weaknesses, or even you can find people whose strength is right where that fills up your weakness. And so you build a team that way. So it is a versatile profiling system for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. ChatGTP is fun, isn't it? I actually learned recently you could ask it to write a song about some subject matter, like, I don't know, monkeys at the zoo, in the style of Bob Marley or something like that. And it'll write the song for you. And how fun is that? So, so now individuals get to learn their tarot and their main one, and then 3 you said that were
so their main profile and then 2 other ones.
2 other ones. Okay.
And what I hope at the same time is that when people look at the suggested personal I guess like celebrity profiles that's included with the primary one, it will inspire them to become what that person is. So for example, if you have the full card and you look at it as like, oh, Les Brown or Julia Child, oh, that's interesting. Read more about them. Maybe you'll find what's resonate along their path of becoming successful, and then to just see how you can apply some of the concepts to their path.
Yeah, that's a great concept, is find somebody that inspires you and then model what they do, right? I've always heard that. And yeah. don't try and copy them, but just model what they do and how they do it.
Yeah. And then there are definitely cars where there are definitely archetypes where you'll need, it's a more of a journey, because that's their personality. They like the journey. So they will go on to more journey more than the other archetypes. And it just happened. But understanding that, I think it'll bring comfort to people, because some people like, I don't know why I can't just settle down. I can't just land one job and be happy. Like, maybe like my father is, who's working the same job for 20, 30 years. I wish I can do that.
Yeah. That
Right?
used to be how it was, right? I mean, you started with a company, you
Yeah.
stayed with that company until you were ready to retire. That used to be the way things were done.
And so I always say to people, if I have a choice, if I given the opportunity, and then, I wish I could do that, but that's not the case anymore. And I wish I can be an employee, right? I wish. It makes everything a lot easier.
Yeah, sure does.
But this
You
is
can never go back
where I am.
when you're in it.
Right.
You can never go back after being a entrepreneur and owning your own business. It's just really hard to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you learn your main profile and then your two lesser profiles, if you will? I can't
Yeah.
remember the exact words you used. I'm sorry.
She
It's
hasn't
fine.
finished the book yet.
I haven't
I
finished the
know.
book yet. We can use it whatever we want. and so basically it's an interesting process. So I'm developing this quiz. Hopefully I'll be able to do like a more precise ones later on. And so you find your major group using the freebie that I'm going to share later on.
Yeah.
And you find your major group, your primary group. And among the primary group, you're going to find out all the different people that I've included in that little profile page. And then you can say, okay, these are the names. I think I identify with this person. And that's your primary one. That's your primary profile.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now I'm still confused about how do you know that particular people like Steve Jobs are a certain archetype? How do you determine that if you've never had them do the assessment or quiz or whatever it is that you have?
Yep. And then so based on, and then it's a little bit about, so now if I may,
You may.
Todd, if I may, I would say that Todd definitely came across to me. You have more component of the coordinator, and it is just the personality and also the way, like, I can tell, like, see how many things in the background, and it's so organized, and unlike mine, it's like
That's only what you can see.
Yeah, don't look at the desk.
don't look down, don't turn the camera away.
Right.
And having to say that, and then Jackie definitely, you came across as a really, and it, which makes sense. You're on stage speaking, and then that is a more sales profile.
Okay.
So then based on that, then I can say, okay, here are the 6 different persons in the sales profiles. For example, it could be Steve Jobs, right? It could be, what's the next one for sales? And like, I'm trying to like turn my brain like crazy right
A
now.
lot of research on your part.
Yeah. So it could be Elon Musk, who's also a very convincing spokesperson. It could be Merkel, the ex German leader. And then it could be
Angela Merkel.
Angela Merkel, yes.
Yeah.
And then it could be, what was the other one? There's like Emma Watson. There's like a couple more like, they're more like speaker type. They're more like sales oriented. The sales personality really is, they're very good at portraying an idea and then get a response from the other person, and hopefully a good response. That's how we get people to say yes to our idea, right? And so having to say that, when I go through the profile, I actually pick out like who represents more of this, their each archetype. And then I try to then sort the archetype into, do they have more of a coordination skills? Do they have more of the advisory skills, the leadership? Then that's why it's like Enneagram. We all have one primary and two secondary, because we're not like one skill person, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's how I put together the system. And so people can literally, you can either go through the flow chart and find out your primary skill set, or you can just literally read through the characters, read through all these celebrity profiles and said, this is who I am. He has this
what
person.
I identify with. This is
Yeah.
And then maybe model somebody that has that same ID and that inspires you. And I mean, that at least, Anna, sets a person off in a direction, right? For those that we talked about, well, I don't know what my purpose is, or I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or well, here you go. Now take off and see where it leads you.
And this is the interesting part, because this system is a feeling-based system. So it's not like, do this +3 -3, and it's really, it's not like a sign. Hopefully one, because then there's like questions that I'm like, there are about 9 to 11 questions that I want to turn it into a matrix. However, it needs a team, and I don't have a team just yet. So hopefully I get to do that later on next year. And partially it is really a feeling-based personality analysis. So this is the part where I'm like inviting people to just come and experience it first.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that is nice.
And so is that part of, you've given us some free gifts. We're going to put those in our blog post, and they will be on the website. And so what will a person experience if they click on these links that we're going to have?
Absolutely. So the first one is the Dream Conversion Score workbook. So essentially inside you'll find 9 questions, and then you're going to rate them between 1 to 10, and it'll give you a score. And you will kind of understand what that means in terms of a score. Like, for example, if you have under 300, this is what it means. If you have above 600, this is what it means. However, hopefully these 9 questions will give you a sense of, oh, am I ready? Am I ready to really turn my dream into a business? Because a lot of people, they might have a stronger vision. However, they haven't really quite figured out what is their style.
Yeah.
Like who's their audience? How do they want to present themselves? What's their voice? Some people might have a really strong idea of who they want to talk to, but they have no idea how to drive their dream towards a goal, right? And so these are 9 questions, hopefully that's going to help flush out that seeding developmental phase of planning for a business. And the second freebie that I have, the link, it will take people to a what I call the business archetype. It's a workbook where on this one of the page, you're gonna find out a flow chart that will take you through a 9 question as well. And then we'll take you to a major group, and then you go down, find your major group, and then you'll read about it. Inside, you'll find out all the different types of personality traits who belong to that major group.
Okay.
I can remember when I started the business, I was a really good, I considered myself to be a machine whisperer, right? Machines told me what there was wrong with them and I could fix them. So I decided to start a business. I had no business accounting skills. I didn't even know how to work Excel and all of these things. But, I just put my head down and found people that could help me and kept listening to machines, and here I am doing the same thing 24 years later. So I know what you speak to when you talk about you've got this dream and this vision, and you're trying to get there, but you don't have some of those other skills, and you just need a little encouragement, a little bit of understanding to keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
That's what your system's designed to do, is what I picked up on.
Yes, absolutely. And what I believe is, once you really understand yourself, you can apply that to your business.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Anna, there's a quote that I saw from you that really has been significant for me as a business owner. You say, in 2022, the world witnessed a global trend of consumers spending more money on travel, food, and entertainment with less budget on everyday products or services. This trend, you say, will continue strong in 2023. So with people spending less money on services, new entrepreneurs will A, find customers want more bang for their buck, and B, spend more time doing things by themselves but get too little results. Hello, you're speaking my language. This is me. So you say it's time to learn how to grow above a lean business.
Yeah.
So that right there, that's like, I need Anna. Because it actually helps me understand the behavior of some of the customers I've been trying to gain, right? And that they're just spending money differently right now. And hopefully that's not a trend that's going to last too long, because the small business owners are already suffering through the pandemic. But so what can you do if I come to you as a business owner and I say, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this trend? What would be the first piece of advice you'd give me?
Yeah, and so a lot of people, when they think about lean business, they could either go into a panic mode where I need to minimize my costs, or it could be that I trim down whatever the extra services that's not producing the same results and just keep my bread and butter. Right. And then so these are two very different concepts. And then the latter one is actually the better one, because once you minimize costs, you never really it's not the same quality that you're providing. And then a lot of times the customers get disappointed. It's a bad cycle when you go into a price war. Right. And so when I say go above lean business mode, is really have to come back to who you are and what does that, because then as a business owner, people didn't realize that how we behave in our daily life had so much impact in our business.
Yeah,
that's true.
And how like our programming from one area creeps into the other one. It's same from business to family life. It's the same thing. So it always come back to who you are. And that's the part where I help people figure out, is that, like, for example, one of my clients, she bought over a business beauty boutique. And so she was like, oh, I was trained in this. I'm just going to use the existing model. It worked. I'm just keep using it. And then the pandemic hits and she was really struggling, because she's like, I don't understand. This works. I have an existing customer base. They're still willing to come out. Like, what's going on? What she didn't understand was that is not her system. She doesn't fit with that system. That system worked well because it was other people's system. So then I have to sat her down and then really figure out, okay, what's your personality? Do you like this? Does this make you happy at work? Okay, if not, then we have to kind of redraw everything.
Yeah.
And so helping her figuring out her system that works for her business. Like, she's much happier right now. Right. And she's just realized she doesn't even have to hire additional people to help her out other than the front desk. And that cuts down her overhead tremendously.
Yeah. It's a game of mathematics, especially when you start to really look at that thing, look at your business, what you're doing. I know, there's, when I had 12 employees, I did way better than I did when I had 18 employees, right? And I probably wouldn't have done any better unless I got to a point where I had, upwards of 25 employees. So and that's what Anna does. Anna is your guidance system for your business, and especially entrepreneurs that are looking at expanding or contracting or doing whatever it is. Get a hold of Anna. Oh my goodness, ladies, that's about all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. My biggest hope is that you would tell somebody about the show, and tell somebody about this show called Life Mastery Radio with Todd and Jackie. Really cool, great guests. It looks like these people are having an absolute blast on Facebook Live. Any last parting words, Anna? Anything you'd like to say before we shut her down for the day?
Tell us your website too, so they can get a hold of you.
Oh, yes. So my website is really straightforward. If you type From Dream to Business, you'll get to my website. And that's how you get a hold of me. You will find the email. And also, you can also find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. If you type in Business Dharma Coach, it should pop up. I'm the only one who's using that
Nice.
combination of words at the moment. And so you can find me that way. Or
you can go to lifemasteryradio.com and click on today's show page, and we'll have a link to Anna right there.
Yep, absolutely.
You can sign up for the newsletter while you're there. Jackie puts out a newsletter once a week, and it just highlights who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and a blog post about the most recent show. All of our shows have great blog posts written by Jackie Bailey. That's about all we have time for today. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed the show, and my biggest hope is you'll tell a friend about the show. And lastly, please, please, please make it a great day, because it's all about choice. And choose to check out Anna. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.